But that's a story a long way down the line. Let's have a look at the goal. Let's have a look at the way it's Ryan, actually, the Bournemouth winger, who didn't have a particularly impactful match, but he kept going and he wins the ball back just at the right
That's a great sign when you want your attackers, if they're not having a great day in terms of a possession, make sure you hunt people down and win the ball back, which they did, and particularly so late in the game, that desire to try and win a game of football when you're thinking we'll settle for a draw. And again, we're looking at Martinelli, of course, just
and it's
hanging on there.
Tanaka who gives it away.
Yeah, of course, but that's the pressure they're under. But it's the final pass. Yeah, we criticise the full-back for maybe gambling, but the composure with the pass where you're thinking, he's obviously going to have a shot here. And it's so late in the game, that composure, that intelligence, and the execution of the pass. Brilliant first touch from Martinelli, that sets it up. And we've seen Martinelli, we listen to plenty of critics out there of Martinelli, not doing enough consistently. But from that moment, that first touch, big moment for him, big moment for Brazil, and you can see the reaction. I loved that. I thought Brazil, outstanding. Absolutely loved watching it in the second half. Real desire to go and win a game of football.
I think the referee's view, Patrick, just shows how congested it is in. I think that's a really good view for everybody at home to really appreciate how little space there is in there.
Yeah, it was quite really compact. You had around 19 players just around the box. But what is quite really interesting on that side is Brazil in the possession. They lost the ball, but they stayed there and tried to win it straight away. So the fact that they win the ball straight away didn't give Japan the time to reorganize themselves. And then in a really tight space, they make the right decision. There was a quality of the pass, and it was a really good finish.
And what about that? It's decision-making, it's control.
It is, but, you know, if you're going to defend that deep, as Japan did, Sugiwara, the right back there, has got to tuck in. You know, it's one thing sitting deep, but you give good players this much space. Look, it's a great first touch, great pass, but when you have so many players in the box, you can't be giving opposition players that much space.
Well, it needs to be almost man-to-man in there, doesn't it?
It has to be, because the right back, Sugiwara's got no one to pick up there. The space is inside. That's where the danger is. And that was the problem for Japan. They not just sat deep, they still give opportunities, no pressure on the ball for them to be able to compete in there.
And we've seen it so many times over the years where teams have a lot of numbers back, but sometimes you have too many numbers. Everyone else thinks somebody else is going to do the job, and they end up with 3 or 4 spare players instead of just actually getting tight in somebody, go man-to-man, because there's plenty of bodies there, but everyone is thinking somebody else is going to do that job.
It's going to be something for Carlo Ancelotti to think about in the next round. It's going to be Norway or Cote d'Ivoire, because Casemiro limped off and Paquetá limped off. That's 2 of his midfield 3.
Yeah, and, you know, losing 2 central midfielders like that is not going to be easy for them. We just have to wait to see how bad it is. But we saw players coming on in the second half, and they have the experience. But losing 2 players, you never know how long and it will take for them to recover.
Yeah, but obviously we'll find out in the next few days how serious it is. Obviously these players are getting a bit older, maybe sometimes just a bit of cramp or tightness, so hopefully from their point of view, it's not too serious.
But you say opportunity, of course, is what you've got to grasp. I love the way that when a massive goal goes in, he's like, yeah, and 5, that's what happens, Ange. Just the way he stays calm, even when it's going his way, it's remarkable.
Yeah, but I think he also understands that, you know, in the chaos of everything that's happening, the game is still going on. Yes. You know, there's still things that need to be decided. And, you know, I think, look, it's heartbreaking for Japan. I know exactly how they'd be feeling, because as a nation, they just feel like they need to break through this barrier, and now they have to wait another 4 years to do that. And that's the World Cup. You know, they're the moments. And the great teams find a way to win. And that's what Japan need to get to.
And with the Japanese, because they all know full well that if you know, us, the Japanese equivalent sitting here are going, done it against Belgium, you've done it against Croatia, now you've done it again against Brazil. When are you going to learn? How are you going to make that step?
Well, it was like Arsenal finished second for a number of years. Football, top-level football is brutal. That's why you have to, when the teams keep winning, we have to give them credit. So Japan, again, have made fantastic progress. Their supporters have been magnificent, and their players gave it their all today. I think the previous times where they've been knocked out, where they got themselves in great positions, you could be a bit more critical. And obviously, we'll analyse, Ange's mentioned their defenders making wrong decisions. But that's pressure. That comes from pressure, decision-making in key moments where the top teams just have that bit of composure. And again, this top-level sport is brutal. They'll have to learn. And 4 years, in another 4 years' time, hopefully they're a little bit wiser.
Absolutely, that is the case.
What does a win in this fashion do for Brazil going forward?
I won't recommend playing for it, but it's the greatest way to win a game, isn't it? Because they deserved him, and they had so much. They had 69% of the ball, and they were really playing well. Japan was defending well, and it's difficult. It's always difficult to break that kind of thing. But again, they find that little space. You called Bruno Guimaraes, he would find that pass. You called that before the game, and he did find that pass. And it only takes 1 minute or 1 moment of a game, tired minds, tired legs out there, to do that. And it's a brilliant thing to win it like that. I said before the game, the 2 games I've been at with Brazil this tournament, it's always looked like they had another gear. And today they have to go into that other gear. I thought they did that today. And to win like that, it's going to give you so much confidence.
Yeah, you go ahead.
No, I think one thing that we can take away from it is obviously the big calls that Carlo Ancelotti made today. We were all saying, yeah, what do we know, Rob? We know nothing about football. Carlo Ancelotti, we called for Casemiro to be taken off. But he was like, nope, I'm going to leave him on the pitch. What did he do? He came up with the equalizer. And, of course, bringing in Martinelli as well. Those big calls, that's why you hire a manager like Carlo Ancelotti, a manager who's been there, done it, knows how to win titles. And we've said it before the game. Is he going to be the guy that will bring this Brazilian side back to the glory days? You can see here again, this goal here, this first goal here. Absolute brilliant goal. We know Casemiro couldn't touch him because he was on a yellow card. And what is this man doing here? Gabriel with the perfect cross and the perfect header from Casemiro.
I mean, the positive you take away from this game is the character Brazil showed to get back into this game, the confidence that Martinelli has now from getting that game winner, the confidence this team has from winning a knockout stage when they were losing, and now they go on to the round of 16. Neymar gets rested a little bit more, but then the worrying thing is Paqueta, how he's dealing with that. Already kind of weak in that midfield. It's going to be interesting if the 6 days will be enough to get them back on the field so they can be firing on all cylinders.
8th come-from-behind win at this World Cup. The Samba Kings still dancing. They move.
Would have been the goal of the tournament in the 58th minute, where he puts it between the legs of the defender, gets it after another defender, cut to the inside, cut to the outside. He thinks he scored, but Suzuki made a big save, which he did quite often in the second half. I thought Japan in the second half, they got fortunate time and time again with ball bounce here, ball bounce there, bounce in, bounce out. Brazil deserved to go through simply based on the endeavor and the commitment that they showed going forward and the character that they show after going down. There are a lot of things about Brazil that are still vulnerable, but in terms of what we saw today, fight, they brought that certainly in the second half, and that I think was enough for them. The quality take over, and when the quality took over, Martinelli provides the goal. They go on and advance. Japan, gone.
You agree, Stevie?
Yeah, they took the time, though. You know, they started the game pretty well, obviously, but they kind of just lost their way in the first half. And so by half-time, you're scratching your head thinking, how's this team going to come back into this and create more chances and score goals? But right from the first whistle, they just absolutely drove the Japanese back into their own box. And in the end, that's the downfall. You know, plenty of crosses in there. And for me, that's the reason why Martinelli at the end gets so much time and space in the box, because the Japanese were so deep. So, yeah, they absolutely deserved to win the game. Martinelli coming on, and I think the fact that Martinelli comes on and ends up being the winner and not Neymar
It spoke volumes, didn't it?
It also tells you something.
How dare you?
It also kind of makes
I mean, you're going there already?
Absolutely. I think it makes a statement that when you need a goal and Brazil are not asking Neymar to come on and be the guy who's going to get it or create it, I think that tells you where Neymar is. And I think it also tells you that this Brazil side, in order to win games, doesn't need Neymar, because they can do what Martinelli did, bring him on and he puts the ball in the back of the net.
We'll get to Neymar in a moment. Their star may well be the coach, Ancelotti, because if anything, the winning goal, Ale, wasn't a microcosm of the game and the patience shown by Ancelotti in this game. I asked you, Stevie, midway through the second half, would you make any changes? And you said no at the time, because Brazil seemed to be in control and a lot of patience from their coach.
Yeah, and it takes some experience in order to be patient, to allow the game to develop. And you could sense the momentum was shifting and it was going in the direction of Brazil. But it's hard to be patient when you think Matheus Cunha has scored, but he hits it off the face of the Japanese defender, off the goalkeeper, off another defender, and then out. And you're thinking, well, maybe things are just not going to happen today. When you start seeing things like that out on the field, it's difficult to believe that today is your day. And so it takes that patience that I'm talking about. It takes that experience that I'm talking about when it comes to Carlo Ancelotti and understanding momentum is with us. It's wave of attack after wave of attack. Eventually, we're going to break through. And if we score one, we're going to score a second one. That comes from years and years and years of standing there in the sidelines and seeing things like this happen time and time again. And let's not forget, as a club manager with Real Madrid, not too long ago, these are the things that Real Madrid were doing. Still, again, there are vulnerabilities to Brazil. Let's not get carried away. But today, in the second half, there were signs of what this team can be.
What is their biggest vulnerability?
Well, the goal they gave up today gives you an example of many different areas where they're lacking and where they have been lacking. We talk about Brazil as a team that historically has had outside backs who are always an outlet in the attacking half. This version of Brazil does not have that. So much so that you have Danilo playing at right back. And let me tell you, you cannot find one Brazilian fan that is not related to Danilo that would suggest, yeah, Danilo should be playing right back for Brazil, and we're happy about that. So he turns the ball over in a bad area, and then we saw the next phase of the concerns for Brazil, the lack of speed and recovery speed in the midfield, which we saw from Casemiro. You see the Japanese attacker just take on the ball, dribbling through the midfield of Brazil, and Casemiro's, I'm going to get there, I'm never going to get there. Then the finish came, and you're thinking Brazil are in trouble. But those are the vulnerabilities. And then on top of that, you're thinking that the center backs could be a group of players that could, at the very least, limit the damage for Brazil. And Gabriel, instead of stepping to the ball, he's stepping back. You think that the goalkeeper could be a guy that could make a save and maybe bail you out, and Alisson did not do that. That goal right there shows you all the areas in which you have to be concerned if you're Brazil.
But that's not changing.
Yeah, I know.
Because he's not changing it.
Well, Fabinho doesn't give you much more athleticism than Casemiro.
No, he doesn't. And that's why he will stick with Casemiro, because Casemiro can do what he did in this game. He can step up.
If Casemiro's okay, because he came off injured.
Well, yeah, but assuming he's okay, then he won't change it. And listen, the definition for me of a defensive midfielder is somebody, when you cough the ball up, becomes the first defender. And if you can't get around and you can't close people down and you can't chase people, then you're in the wrong spot. So if you're asking a guy to do a job and he can't do it properly, if you want to win the World Cup, it's not going to happen.
Paquetá off. Seemed to be a slight injury there as well. Endrick seemed to change the momentum of the game. That switch meant something for Brazil, didn't it?
And I know there are people related to this production, very closely related to the production, that really love Lucas Paquetá. This may very well be the best thing that has happened to Brazil.
Wow.
That Lucas Paquetá is not on the field. I have no idea why Carlo Ancelotti continues to go into Paquetá and say, that's our guy. I don't see it. I don't see it, and I have said that for a long time now. And again, today was the latest example of that. And so him coming injured, and you don't want to see a player get injured, but it's the best thing that could have happened to Brazil.
So what would you do? What change? If you're Carlo Ancelotti, what change are you making?
Well, I have to first define what is it that I want to do with Mateus Cunha. Mm-hmm. Because if Mateus Cunha, when he starts playing as a center forward, he's more of an actually underneath midfielder because he drops into those positions and he's not really a presence inside the 18-yard box, then you might as well start him there. And then have Endrick play up top. Or you play those guys together and Vini Jr., you just have him out on the left-hand side because you're asking Vini Jr. to be more of a central player when Mateus Cunha drops underneath. Well, if Mateus Cunha is going to drop underneath and Vini is not going to go in the middle, he stays out left, then who is attacking down the middle? So you need numbers there. I just don't think that Paquetá gives you enough for this to become the solution to the problem. I think what's happening is that Ancelotti recognizes that he doesn't have enough with Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes, and so he's hoping that Paquetá can provide some help defensively, but you're sacrificing a lot of what you do offensively.
Stevie, why did we not see Neymar? Pushing for a winner late in the game, in a knockout game in the World Cup. You've got the experienced Neymar ready to go on the bench. Yep. We didn't see him at all. You're the coach. Why?
Well, the only reason when you have a player that has so much ability and you don't put him on is because you don't think he's capable at this particular time of doing what he's previously done or he's able to do. And so that I just think physically, and we saw when he came on in the last game for a little cameo at the end, I think that was Ancelotti playing the political card, keeping him happy, keeping the squad happy. This guy's a legend in this squad. And so I think that's what that was. And the fact that he didn't come on today when you need a goal tells you that Ancelotti doesn't trust him. And that's the bottom line. He doesn't trust him.
I tell you what's happening that is not helping Ancelotti. It's the directors, the TV directors. They see that the game is getting away from Brazil, that they need something in the attack, and who do they go to? It's Neymar.
There's a shot.
Right? Look, asking Neymar to be the difference maker right now for Brazil would be an act of desperation. It would be. He hasn't shown you anything that would suggest he would be a better option than Gabriel Martinelli or Endrick or any of these other players that have life in their legs. They have explosion in their legs. Neymar doesn't have that right now. He doesn't, and he's barely recovering from yet another calf injury. So I don't care how many times the director cuts to Neymar. Carlo Ancelotti is going to make the decision that suits Brazil, and he did that today, and he was rewarded for it.
Yep. Japan, their coach Moriyasu said they were there to make a deep run in the tournament. They didn't do exactly that. They got out of the group, dumped out at the round of 32.
Yep.
Good goal today on the counter, but I know sitting next to you, Stevie, in the green room, you're urging them to get out from that low block, Stevie. They never did.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the coach has said all the right things, and that's what you want to hear.
Have they left with regrets?
I absolutely don't think so. I really don't. I think it's very easy when you're sitting on the sideline like we are, and you have all this great theory that we were talking about, and you don't want to be too deep, and you should push up, and then you need to. When you're on the field, and there's 11 yellow jerseys chasing you after you, running you around, making you chase them, you're having to double up all over the field. I mean, they just wore them down, and they couldn't get out. In the end, they couldn't get out. They were just A, so tired, and B, the fact that Brazil just got the bit between their teeth and forced them back. Yeah. So, yeah, I think Japan should be proud of what they've done. They came into this game, there's no question they were underdogs. And for 45 minutes, the dream was still alive. But unfortunately, as usually happens, realistically, they got beaten by a better side.
I think the one thing that they could be concerned about and disappointed about is that when they score the goal, when Sano breaks through and gets away from Casemiro and finishes in the manner in which he did, Brazil was wobbly. Brazil was all over the place like, what just happened? This is not supposed to happen. This was not the plan. And now they were turning the ball over and hitting the ball straight out of bounds, and they couldn't find each other. That was the moment in which perhaps, I'm not saying that you should, but perhaps you could think about, hey, if we get our lines further forward, if we are able to turn the ball over in a bad area, maybe we can exploit Brazil, and maybe we may just be able to sneak a second one. And if you do that, then you give yourself a better chance. But when they so early on in the second half, whether they were pushed back or if it was a decision made by them, because it was very early in the second half, we're just going to sit here and deep and deep and deeper and deeper and deeper. It becomes human nature not to take a step forward. You end up collapsing inside your own 18-yard box because that's what you have been sort of pushed to do by the opponent. But also you have told yourself that this is the best chance you have in order to win the game. I thought they had a chance in the last 20 minutes of the first half to do something. They chose not to do that. They did not take that step forward. And then in the second half, well, Brazil took over.
Punished Casemiro and Martinelli with the goal. So Brazil, the five-time champion, advanced to the round of 16 where they will face the winner of the Ivory Coast-Norway match. So a really tough battle. No matter who they play here, the Ivory Coast looking good in this tournament. Norway, it's been infectious what we've seen from their fan base and obviously on the field as well with Erling Haaland and Martin Odegaard. Brazil's credentials for this tournament, Stevie, have they gone up in your estimation after today or down?
I'll be honest, I think they've stayed exactly where I thought they were.
Are they contenders?
I don't think they are, no.
Oh.
From the very first game they played and what we've been talking about today, there's no question in my mind, their problem is the middle of the park. Mm-hmm. Casemiro, Paquetá, who you're saying may not appear again, but even if you put Robinho in there, I mean, it's not cheap. Fabinho.
We're not bringing Robinho back.
I tell you, brother Robinho. Yeah, even if you put Fabinho in there, it's not going to change anything. So I don't think they've got the strength in the middle of the park.
It'd be newsworthy if they put Robinho in.
I don't know why I said Robinho. I was thinking you'd at least go Ronaldinho first.
He's well putting Robinho in as well. So yeah, no, nothing's changed for me. I don't think they're strong enough in the middle of the park in order to win this World Cup.
Wow.
And actually, I don't believe they'll beat Norway.
You don't?
No.
You don't? They'll be massive favourites against Norway or the Ivory Coast, LA.
I'm just saying.
I wouldn't call it massive favourites.
Yeah.
They may be favourites based on history, but not necessarily on on-field performance. Look, I see Brazil as a team that has flaws. And these are major flaws. These are not like, well, maybe we can do without this, maybe we can do without that. You cannot cover for the fact that you don't have options in the attack in what areas other than Vini Jr. Ryan tucks inside, so is Danilo going to push up into that space? Well, no, he doesn't. Douglas Santos, is he going to push down the left-hand side? Well, no, he doesn't. Do they come and help in the midfield? They don't either, which then means that the midfield and Casemiro and whoever is there, whether it's Fabinho or yeah, whoever it may be, they just don't have enough numbers to cover that space. And so it puts a lot of premium on the center-back pairing to be at the very best and on Alisson having to come up with saves. It's just too many holes to cover. Yeah. And they were exposed today by Japan. Those holes will continue to be exposed by whoever they play next. And if they advance past that, then you get into the big boys. And when it comes to the big boys, I think Brazil is just not quite there.
Brazilian fans may argue that without Suzuki in goal for Japan today, who was absolutely phenomenal, 23 years of age, plays with Parma, several big-time saves.